Hey guys, I just wanted to thank you guys for listening to my music and supporting me. Um, I wanted to make a hypothetical academia pitch or thesis that helps people from an academic perspective understand the framework and rationale and vision behind the musical theory that is underlying in my uh, or that's evident in my music that I compose. So I'll just go ahead and read the academia pitch that I have. Um, this is just to help people better understand the lore, so to speak, and the theory behind my music, and the help people better understand me and the vision that I'm trying to chase and achieve. So the first heading, or the first thing we'll talk about, is the analytical framework and rationale behind this thesis and behind my musical mission. So, the analytical problem posed by these works is familiar to post-tonal theory. The music resists functional harmonic interpretation, yet clearly avoids the perceptual flatness associated with pitch class egalitarianism. Consequently, neither Roman numeral analysis nor strict set class taxonomy adequately accounts for the music's coherence. Instead, this paper adopts a framework drawing from pitch-centric post-tonal theory, so think Strauss and, hard to pronounce his name, Tomazko, linear voice-leading analysis, and process-based approaches to form. The central claim I'm trying to make about my music is that these works operate within a center-oriented but non-teleological modal system, in which pitch gravity is established through registral emphasis, durational hierarchy, and motivic convergence rather than dominant tonic syntax. Importantly, the argument is corpus based. Analytical claims are validated not by isolated moments, but by consistent behavior across all the works within my corpus, which is the corpus just means like a group of songs instead of an individual song. So across the corpus, pitch organization consistently exhibits localized centricity. Individual pieces articulate focal pitches through sustained bass tones, registral anchoring, and repeated melodic return points. However, these centers do not function tonally. They are not confirmed through cadential closure, nor do they participate in hierarchical key relationships. Instead, pitch centers function as gravitational nodes within bounded pitch fields. So I use pitch centers or gravitational node pitch fields. It sounds corny, but pitch fields instead of keys and chord progressions. These nodes stabilize local musical space while remaining temporarily contingent. As a result, centricity is perceptually salient but formally non-teleological. This behavior aligns with center-oriented post-tonality rather than extended tonality. So it aligns more with post-tonal music as opposed to, say, like the tonal music of before. Unlike tonal music, there is no sense of harmonic obligation toward resolution. Unlike atonality, there is clear pitch hierarchy. So that point was describing the pitch centers that I use instead of the chord progressions and instead of the like the contemporary chord progressions and instead of the keys. So now we'll talk about the pitch field construction and mutation. So how I go about building these pitch fields instead of keys and instead of chord progressions, and how I play the keyboard or piano or organ around the pitch field and mutate the pitch field itself and add counterpoint to the pitch field or to around the pitch fields that I play off of. Each work organizes its pitch material into collections typically comprising of 5 to 7 pitch classes. These collections share several consistent properties. Number one, frequent omission of leading tones. Number two, ambiguous or fluctuating thirds. Number three, avoidance of symmetrical pitch structures. And four, a gradual mutation via single pitch alteration. Rather than abrupt modulation or wholesale collection replacement, pitch fields evolve through incremental voice leading adjustments. One pitch class is altered while others remain stable, producing continuity across sections. This gradualism is especially perceptible in the organ medium. So playing the organ instead of piano, this gradualism is easier to perceive, where sustained resonance allows listeners to hear pitch field transformation as internal reconfiguration rather than harmonic progression. So now we're going to talk, the setting is about uh, vertical sonorities as harmonic states. So vertical sonorities in these works function not as chords within a progression, but as harmonic states. Sonorities are defined by their intervallic content, registral spacing, and temporal duration rather than by functional identity. Across the corpus or collection of songs, these states frequently involve quartal and quintal intervallic structures, added note tertian sonorities, and chromatic inflections approaching saturation without achieving aggregate completion. Harmonic rhythm is notably irregular in my pieces. Certain sonorities persist for extended durations, creating moments of harmonic suspension, while others act as brief transitional configurations. This temporal asymmetry undermines any sense of harmonic goal directedness and reinforces the autonomy of each harmonic state. And so the next heading uh, piece that I'm presenting is about the linear counterpoint as governing principle. So even though I make music starting with uh, starting with how I was talking about the gravitational fields or whatever, not fields. How do I describe it? I forgot how I describe it. Gravitational nodes. Um, it sounds so ridiculous right now. Um, it's still it's still led by counterpoint, non-species counterpoint as a governing principle. So perhaps the most consistent invariant across the corpus is the primacy of linear voice leading. Even in dense textures, the music can be parsed into implied voices, exhibiting stepwise predominance, controlled leaps with compensatory motion, and registral separation sufficient to maintain perceptual independence. Contrapunctual behavior Contrapuntal behavior reflects an abstracted inheritance of species counterpoint, while the music does not observe intervallic prohibitions in a literal sense. It demonstrates careful treatment of perfect intervals and avoidance of exposed parallel motion at structurally salient moments. In my music, the chromaticism functions primarily as a linear connective agent, facilitating smooth pitch field mutation without invoking tonal resolution. So it's like it brings color between the fields and between the voice leading counterpoint. It brings color using the voice leading counterpoint. It brings color to it without invoking like resolution or tonal resolution or what's the word, release of tension. It can sometimes be done in a consonant way and sometimes be done in a dissonant way, but the chromaticism, it functions as a linear connective agent. So now the intervallic motivic organization is the next heading. um, so using intervals to make my motives, my musical ideas within the piece. Motivic coherence across the corpus is achieved through interval-defined cells rather than pitch-specified themes. These cells typically consist of 2 to 4 pitches characterized by distinctive intervallic successions, such as semitone, perfect fourth relationships. So my motivic recurrence occurs through registral displacement, rhythmic transformation, and inversional or partial reinterpretation. So rather than thematic development in the classical sense, these cells function as generative materials whose persistent intervallic identity ensures large-scale coherence. And now we'll talk about process-based formal articulation, the process behind the the improvisational process that's underlying in the theory and uh, music. Formal structure across all three works is articulated not through thematic contrast or recapitulation, but through processual parameters, including textural density, registral expansion and contraction, and harmonic saturation and thinning. Sections are delineated by changes in these parameters rather than by thematic boundaries. Moments of formal articulation are characterized by textural stasis or registral extremity, functioning as formal plateaus rather than cadential closures. This non-teleological formal logic is consistent across the corpus, group of songs, and constitutes a defining feature of this compositional language that I'm using. So the corpus level implications. So the fact that this is analyzed over the consistency of a corpus rather than just as a one-time thing on an individual piece, you'll find that this theory and what I'm describing here is in across all of my songs that I make, and my songs are made via improvisation. And then I analyze the theory of them and then apply that to my improvisation later, further, and it's a loop. It's as I go. So uh, the implications across the corpus are that analyzing these works as a corpus reveals a stable compositional grammar. Pitch centers are procedural rather than symbolic. Pitch fields, so the pitch fields that I use instead of keys or chord progressions, mutate gradually through voice leading. Harmony emerges from a linear interaction, which is led by counterpoint, non-species counterpoint, and form arises from process rather than architecture. These invariants justify treating the works not as improvisatory artifacts, but as instances of a post-coherent, post-tonal compositional practice. And now the conclusion. This paper has argued that the following pieces exemplify uh, the following pieces collectively exemplify a linear center-oriented post-tonal modality in which contrapunctual voice leading, intervallic motivic coherence, and process-based form collectively replace functional harmony and classical formal templates. By foregrounding corpus level invariance, the analysis demonstrates that the music's coherence arises not from stylistic convention or external system, but from the disciplined consistency of its internal logic. This places the works within a lineage of post-tonal compositional practices that privilege line over function and process over teleology, contributing to ongoing theoretical discussions of centricity, modality, and form in contemporary music, hopefully. I hope to contribute in that. That's why I made this channel and do what I do. So the reason that I'm making this music is, and doing this and sharing this information about and the theory behind my music is not for fame or to make or to be seen as some perceived virtuoso or anything like that. It's what I'm trying to do is to make an impact in a way that normalizes center-oriented post-tonal modality. So post-tonal modality with the use of of the process of voice leading around and through the gravitational pitch centers. So that I use instead of keys and chord progressions. So I'm trying to normalize center-oriented post-tonal modality without systems, without serialism, and without impressionist vagueness. So though it's done improvised, there's still a disciplined system that I'm following that's internal. And I'm trying to legitimize improvisation as analyzable composition in academic theory spaces and without apologetics. And lastly, I'm trying to offer a reciprocable compositional grammar that others can learn from without becoming dogma. So these are structural contributions, not stylistic ones. And now my music is very abstract, so it can be hard to absorb. It won't find any place in the contemporary music scene, and even in the academic music scene, it's going to be still slightly hard to be absorbed. It's because it falls between institutions, or would fall in between institutions and in the contemporary musical sphere of today. Uh, it's disciplined enough that it can't really be deemed experimental. It's too post-tonal for traditional pedagogy, and or pedag I don't know if that's pedagogy or pedagogy, sorry. And it's too analytical for influencer culture, but it's also intuitive in a sense for system theory camps to just put in a box. So it's not a weakness, I'm told, uh, but I don't know. That's just that's just how I play and the way that I try to approach music. And it can sound dissonant at times, but that's the emotions that I want to convey and the music that I would like to convey. Um, I play here on this MIDI keyboard. Um, I play with a Roland SC55 sound canvas into an analog tape deck. Generally, if I run out of tapes, I'll plug my Roland sound canvas um, into my audio interface, and I have the pedal there. That's always good. And then I have my Thesaurus of Scales and Melodic Patterns by Nicholas Slonimsky. To be honest, I haven't delved into that. Um, I have yet to want to add like a external things into my music, but I will one day consider going through that book and seeing what pieces could what scales could serve within that book as a framework to complement my internal framework, I guess. Anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for listening to my music and just for being here. And um, the trait that I try to uh, express the most is sincerity and earnestness. And I've been struggling as a musician for like 10 years now, and the support, it means so much, but it's not what I'm seeking in validation. Uh, but it's meaningful. It's meaningful, and I'm very grateful for it. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Bless you.